from the broadcast center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus. This is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good morning. I am Alicia Nolasco for 1680 The Crow, delivering your morning headlines. Starting with breaking news, the RCMP of Prince George is responding to a helicopter crash close to a local ski hill. Police reports that the crash was notified around 7:45 a.m. near Purdinsky Village, east of the city. The RCMP says multiple people were on board the helicopter and do not know yet if anyone has been hurt. Blustery winds were on hand yesterday for a ceremony at the BC Legislature to raise the survivors' flag in honor of residential schools, survivors, and the children who never came home. Grand Chief Stuart Phillip, president of the Union of BC Indian Chiefs, says the raising of the orange and white flag at the legislature is a historic moment that brings hope of better days ahead for understanding and acceptance of all people.
It's a symbol of hope. You know, we got to focus on hope and the future and not dwell on, all of this chaos that's happening in our society.
Indigenous and political leaders participated in the flag-raising ceremony ahead of the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. Victoria will raise the flag today of Sanghees Eskimo Nation in the city of Victoria. The ceremony will acknowledge that Victoria is located in the territory of Sanghees and Eskimo Nation. The event will take place at 3 p.m. today outside of Victoria City Hall and will be accompanied by the Victoria Mayor Marianne Alto, Rob Thomas, the Chief of Eskimo Nation, and Ron Sam, Chief of the Sanghees Nation. And our producer Zach has an update with the stories our reporters are chasing today.
Thanks, Alicia. First up, we have Lachlan covering the tentative agreement between the Writers Guild of America and the movie executives. Richard is taking a look into student housing affordability and how 1 in every 10 university students do not have a secure place to sleep at night. Joseph's investigating BC's toxic drug supply after a study showed toxic drugs are the leading cause of death for BC citizens between 10 and 59. And tune in tomorrow to listen to Sebastian's feature piece on how two-spirited people celebrate in Canada. Back to you, Alicia.
Thank you, Zach. From coast to coast, these are some updating news from the Canadian press.
Now, this update from the Canadian press. Anthony Rota's time as Speaker of the House of Commons may be coming to an end. Several top Liberal cabinet ministers are joining the opposition in calling for Rota to step down after he invited a man who fought for the Nazis to attend a speech by Ukraine's president. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is calling the mistake deeply embarrassing. India's foreign minister used his speech to the UN General Assembly this morning to promote his country's growing global stature and leadership ambitions. He mostly steered clear of India's dispute with Canada over the killing of a Sikh separatist leader. The lawyer for a 51-year-old Laval, Quebec man accused of killing 2 4-year-olds and injuring 6 other children hopes Pierre-Ni Saint-Amand will not have to stand trial. The bus driver is charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder and other offenses after a city bus crashed into a daycare in February. From the Canadian press, I'm Dawn Kelly.
In other news, the jury trial for Ibrahim Ali, who's accused of first-degree murder of 13-year-old, continues at the BC Supreme Court today. Artificial intelligence leaders at Google say that technology's rapid evolution marks the biggest advance since the mobile phone. But those playing in the space still have plenty of work to do to stamp out biases. The head of Google Cloud's Canadian operations says the technology is making unprecedented breakthroughs and stands to transform customer service, healthcare, and supply chains. But Sam Sebastian warns anyone using the technology must approach it with responsibility because AI comes with risks. Kamal Singh, a senior product manager with Google's search wing, says those risks include further entrenching stereotypes into AI models. Moving into weather now, it seems like today we'll have a cloudy day with a 40% chance of showers beginning late this morning with temperature at 13 degrees and wind going east-southeast at 19 kilometers per hour. Humidity is at 91% today, and later today we can expect temperature at 15 degrees with risk of thunderstorms in the afternoon. This was your 10 a.m. news. Thank you for listening. I am Alicia Nolasco for 1680 The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
I'm sure many of you out there like to listen to retro music and attend concerts that remind you of the 80s and 90s. Over the recent years, there's been a steady increase in retro music popularity, especially among the newer generations like millennials and Gen Z. I talked to Yvonne Doroshuk, an American-born Canadian, the lead singer and founder of the band called Men Without Hats, best known for the hit song The Safety Dance. We talked about his band and how he noticed a rise in popularity in recent years. So what is your name and the name of your band?
My name's Ivan, and the band's called Men Without Hats.
All right. How many members are in your band?
Currently, there's 4 members.
Where did you? When did you debut, and where?
Probably 1979 at the Hotel Nelson in Montreal.
Oh, pretty sure my dad is a fan of you guys. What inspired you guys to come together and make music? Like, what is your story?
Just it's rock and roll, just wanted to be in a band, wanted to make music, grew up listening to music, grew up in the 70s listening to bands, going to see shows.
Is there any like specific bands that inspired you guys to come together and make music?
Just listening to a lot of the 70s progressive rock bands, just bands like Genesis and Pink Floyd, and later on new wave bands like the Human League and the B-52s.
All right, over the years, have you guys like seen a growth in popularity around your music?
Yeah, there's been a big growth in popularity due to our songs being embedded in pop culture. Shows like The Simpsons use our songs, and shows like Glee gave us a whole new generation of listeners too.
What trends have you guys taken notice about retro bands over the years? Like, have you seen popularity grow, or have they like come down, or like in the middle?
Well, a lot of bands today, a lot of popular bands sound like 80s bands. They use a lot of the same recording techniques with the synthesizers and electronic drums and robot voices. So it's made 80s bands popular again.
Just today and age, like what age range does your fans consist of? Like, do they consist of like older people or younger people?
It goes from our original fans who are older to their children who are middle aged, and their children's children who are younger.
Right. Do you think like the younger generations are like finding your music more popular as well? Like, have you seen like a lot of younger people listening to your music?
Yeah, more and more, because the 80s music is a lot of songs. There's a lot of tunes you can sing along to. The music today is very different than it was back then. So I see a lot of younger kids gravitating towards 70s music and 80s music because there's a lack of songs that you can sing along to in the music today. It's a lot of talking.
Just a little question, like, what type of music did you guys do before, and like, what type of music do you do now in comparison?
I grew up doing taking classical piano lessons, and I listened to a lot of different kinds of music, and we still do the same kind of music now. We still tour, and we still play the same music.
What is like one of your biggest hits over the years? Like, what was your biggest hit in the 70s, and then like, what's your biggest hit now?
Well, our biggest hits were The Safety Dance and Pop Goes the World. Those are probably our 2 biggest hits.
Do you guys have any like other music releasing anytime soon?
Yeah, we put out a new record last year.
Do you guys have another one coming up by chance?
Yep, we're coming up. We have a new record coming out next year too.
Oh, perfect. When are you guys performing next time?
Well, we're performing. We perform all the time. We've got shows coming up in LA and San Francisco pretty soon.
Is there any performances in Vancouver by chance?
I'm not sure. I haven't checked the schedule, but yeah, we'll be playing in Vancouver next year, pretty sure.
Right. What do you recommend for those starting to listen to like older like bands, like 80s bands? Like what bands, especially yours?
Bands like the Human League, bands like The Cure, bands like Depeche Mode. Those are the bands that are still popular.
Do you have anything else to say by chance? Like, is there anything else you would like to talk about as your story-wise, or like, has there ever been like a time when your band was kind of like going down, but then you guys have noticed a rise?
Well, in the 90s, I took some time off. The 90s were synthesizer music wasn't very popular in the 90s. It was more of the grunge scene with guitars. And so I took some time off, and I was a stay-at-home dad, and I raised my son.
When did you guys like come back, or when did you come back from the time off?
I put the band back on the road in 2010.
Oh, so you did miss like the era of like when rap was like coming up and like it was a big hit.
Yeah, well, I took some time off. Yeah.
So when you did come back, was there like a big welcome for you guys, and like was there like a lot of fans at your like first performance in years?
Oh yeah, there was. Yeah.
And when was that?
We did a tour in 2010 with the Human League and with the B-52s, touring across America.
Oh, how many people did you guys see over there?
Quite a few.
Talking about like 10,000 or so at least?
Yeah, at least.
Right. Sorry. What are the other names of your band members, actually?
We'll send you a press release with everything if you want, with all the information.
Oh, that's fine. It's just I'd just like to have it like on call if that's okay with you.
Yeah, there's Sahara on keyboards, Sho on guitar, and Adrian on drums.
And I forgot to ask, what is your position in the band?
I'm the lead singer.
Lead singer. Oh, how is that? How's that for you? You like singing?
Pretty
right?
good. A lot of fun.
A lot of fun. And finally, what would you like to say to your fans out there?
You can dance if you want to.
All right, and I think that should be it. Thank you very much, Ivan, for taking your time.
Nice talking to you.
Nice talking to
Bye.
you too. Bye. I'm Riley Lung. I was speaking to Yvonne Doroshook from Men Without Hats, and you're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Trettanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is
From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good morning. I am Max Mashman, and these are your 10:30 news headlines. Our first story, David Eby is set to speak with reporters early this afternoon to discuss the results of his meeting with federal policymakers. In a post to social media platform X, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says he has discussed housing, clean energy growth, and Indigenous partnership. Natural disaster preparedness and response was also discussed as BC comes off a record-breaking wildfire season, where around 2,200 wildfires burned nearly 25,000 square kilometers and flooding remains a concern. This also coming in the aftermath of a controversy after Trudeau said he had evidence of India's involvement in the killing of a Sikh activist in Surrey. Eby has said that he strongly suspects Trudeau is withholding valuable information that could help protect residents of the province.
I suspect strongly that the federal government has information about that through CSIS, through the RCMP, and about how we could respond to that and prevent it. I'm glad to see Dominic LeBlanc has reached out. He said, we want to make sure that you have the information you need to keep British Columbians safe. So we're working on that, but there has not been good information sharing on this.
In other local and somewhat related news, a downtown Vancouver street was closed yesterday due to a protest. Our reporter Richard Davis has more.
Over 30 police officers manned barricades in the walls of the P. Angela Webster building, where the Indian consulate is located on Howe Street in downtown Vancouver. The street was blocked off to vehicle traffic as over 80 protesters filled Howe Street, demanding justice for the murder of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Supporter Gurkirat Singh says,
The Sikhs, from the day that Mr. Nijjar was murdered, knew who was behind this assassination. From the first day, we've called out the Indian state for being behind the murder of Mr. Hardeep Singh Nijjar. And what Justin Trudeau said last Monday on the floor of the House of Commons, that just reassures us, and it's an acknowledgement that what we felt from day one. This hasn't only been happening since June 18. This has been happening for the last 40 years.
Many of the protesters carried flags supporting the independent state of Khalistan, alongside Canadian flags and pro-Trudeau messaging. Richard Davis, 1680 The Crow.
Our next story, alarming numbers out of the Port of Metro Vancouver showing a 14% decrease in container shipments in the past 6 months of the year. According to interim CEO Victor Pang, the number reflects a stalling economy and consumer tightening. The volume of consumer goods entering the port saw a 12% decrease, a trend Pang said could indicate less consumer demand, but could also be indicative of overstocked inventories. Consumer goods were not the only item to take a hit. Construction materials and auto parts have also slowed shipments through Canada's largest port. Grain exports, however, have increased as the war in Ukraine threatens the previously established supply chains. And now for national news. Liberal MPs, including the Liberal Party House Leader and Foreign Affairs Minister, are joining calls from the NDP and Bloc Québécois to get House Speaker Anthony Rota to resign. This after Speaker Anthony Rota invited a Nazi SS veteran, referring to him as a Canadian and Ukrainian hero, to an address by Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. Rota is expected to meet with the House leadership of the main federal parties today, with the NDP, Liberal, and Bloc House leadership calling for Rota's resignation and the Conservatives being highly critical of his action. Speculation deepens whether Rota will resign. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has said that while the situation is deeply embarrassing, Rota apologized and would reflect on how to ensure the dignity of the House going forward. In international news, American President Joe Biden is planning on standing alongside striking United Auto Workers in the picket line, something which has raised concerns as he previously said he would not get involved in negotiation. And now for the weather. It is 14 degrees and cloudy in Vancouver with showers expected throughout the day. For 1680 The Crow, this is Max Mashman, and these have been your news headlines.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the lower mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
grew up here. I made friends here. I came here, to work, to learn more about my family's legacy. I learned my language here. This is home. The Punjabi market is the oldest, little India in North America. In 2008, after the global financial crisis, specifically with the Punjabi market, people were just looking for opportunities. So that's why you saw a lot of the commerce flee from here into Surrey. But in 2017, I lost my dad. And after I lost my dad, I did a lot of soul searching, thinking about him. I was grieving. My dad was sick for a very long time. And I don't know, for some reason I made this connection between watching him deteriorate and watching the market deteriorate. And in my dad's case, I wasn't able to intervene, right? His story was written. He passed away in 2017. But with the market, I had the option to intervene. I think that there wasn't a singular inspiration. I don't think that you could say that. It was just it was a collection of experiences that sort of just led me in that direction. And I think I sort of stumbled into it, to be honest. It was just a collection of individuals who'd been talking, for a few months about what the future of the market was. When I was thinking about, hey, what are we going to do with the Punjabi market? I decided to go on Instagram. I saw this illustration of the street sign. It had a pink and orange background, and it was stylized in this squiggly line. And I thought it was really cool. So what I decided to do at midnight was DM the person and be like, hey, I really like your artwork. That person was Jag Negra.
I joined in 2019. I met Gulzar Nanda, who's our current chair, and he had introduced me to the idea of helping revitalize and beautify Punjabi market because there hadn't been a lot of investment in the area in so long. So there's a group of volunteers that were coming together to work on this neighborhood, right? So as soon as he started telling me about it, I got really excited, and right away I was like, yes, I want to be involved. I think when we first started, there was a bit of a challenge because there have been other community groups who've tried to revitalize the market. Politicians come around every year during election cycles, right, to try to they come for photo ops sometimes, right? There's been lots of empty promises. There's been lots of broken promises. So there was a little bit of hesitation and disbelief, I guess, in the work we were trying to do. But I think as we're making, I think the physical changes is what helps them see that we are doing something, right? For me, it kind of pulls at my heartstrings because I remember, I grew up in Maple Ridge, which is about 45 minutes away from here, and we would come once a year to do a big shopping day. We'd follow my parents, my aunts, from shop to shop. We'd come here to Himalaya restaurant for lunch, chole bhature every time. And those memories have been seared into my mind. And to be able to give back to this neighborhood, that meant so much to me. And now coming here with my two young children who are 2 and 4, and having them know what Punjabi market is and hopefully have them grow with it, I think that's so beautiful.
Well, as I said, there was none of the Indian business. So the people coming from even Prince George, Kamloops, William Lakes, when there was a long weekend holidays, they were doing to do the business in the Punjabi market.
Having a store on Main Street, you can brag about it, honestly. And having, in 90s when I opened the store, having a store, a big store like this, it was really great to have something on Main Street. And in those days, though, no, it was a very, very great thing to have something.
The Punjabi market ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਦੇ ਸਾਈਨ ਲੱਗੇ ਬਾਇਲਿੰਗੁਅਲ ਸਾਈਨ ਲੱਗੇ ਆ ਬਾਹਰ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਵਾਰੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਵੈਨਕੂਵਰ ਦੀ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਮਾਰਕੀਟ ਸਾਈਨ ਲੱਗੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਦੇ
God, there are lots of memories. I remember the first parade when we saw there more than 100,000 people walking by the street. Wow, it was packed. Like you can't even walk around there. There were so many people. That was such a big community we have here, though. And that was a show of strength as well for the community, I guess. And it was very proud to be, to be part of that event.
We celebrated the 25th of anniversary in 1995. At that time, most of the shops were run by the Indo-Canadian community. I know at that time there are 400 Indo-Canadian community employees were working in the market, and we doing about $70 million business.
For the first 10, 12 years, it was just solid up. And then it got steady for a little while. And then the Surrey came in existence. And then now the more people were going and living in Surrey because that was more affordable though.
I think there's like this misconception that, hey, everybody from Vancouver that's South Asian moved to Surrey or they moved to Burnaby. But the census data doesn't show that. The census data shows that there have never been as many South Asians as there are now in all of the Lower Mainland. And that includes Vancouver.
What we can do to help support those businesses is create what we call placemaking. So making a destination, making a place that people want to go, and centering Punjabi market as a real locus for South Asian culture in the city of Vancouver.
Yeah, we advocate for this neighborhood a lot. We meet regularly with the City of Vancouver. We have brought a lot of public art initiatives here, and we're kind of revitalizing it from an arts and culture-based lens, right? And trying to help these mom and pop shops that have been here, help them grow, help attract new businesses, new young entrepreneurs to come here and invest here. And the last thing we want is for it to get completely gentrified and forgotten and erased, because so much of our history, that's what tends to happen, especially in Vancouver. So we want to hold on to the legacy here.
And then looking at things like that we could immediately improve as a city, things like street furniture, adding electrical sockets to lamp standards so we could do string up lights and stuff like that. And then there's more ambitious things like a gate that's long been talked about over Main Street to actually kind of really signify things like street beautification and murals and stuff, and we've seen the actualization of the murals. And strategies to bring back some of those businesses. So when we talk about what people make living heritage, it's the shops, it's the people who use those shops, it's the people who hang out and make the community, and it's not just a bunch of old buildings.
How many people have walked these streets and forged connections that are undying? They to this day still endure. I think that's probably the legacy of this place, is that it brought us together from all over the western seaboard of North America.
I guess being able to provide like a home away from home for so many newcomers is really important. Long term, yeah, I want this to be like such a lively street, the way it was when I was a kid, right? Like you couldn't find parking when I was a kid and we'd come here. I want that kind of like liveliness here again.
But all I can say that is stay positive and just help us out and show us the way and we will follow you basically. And they are leading us very well.
Well, I think the Gulzar Nanda's organization is doing their best try to keep the market up. I think it would survive.
Yeah, it feels incredible. It's like, as a visual artist, I never thought I would be here. Like I was like making art, right? But to see the impact we're having, like I don't think I notice it or think about it day to day. And I think that'll come maybe in a few years when I look back and see like, here's what we accomplished. But I think every year, like I can look back at the changes we've made and the initiatives we've brought here, and I feel really proud of it, right? Like it's really cool to be playing a part in Punjabi market's overall story and history, and like in 50 years, people will talk about the work we did. I think that's really, really cool.
When South Asians first migrated here, they started off as laborers in factories, farms. What the Punjabi market really showed the Western world was that the South Asian person can be an entrepreneur. Their value isn't just in their hands, And there was still a lot of racism, right? But seeing our community thrive here, people should have paused and been like, wow, these South Asians, people that we might not think as our equals, they're doing really well. And I think that that's really the road through which we get to where we are now. We've left an undeniable mark on Canada, and I feel like it started almost here.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good morning, I am Alicia Nolasco bringing you the 11 news for 1680 The Crow. RCMP are seeking for the public's help in locating 67-year-old man John David Young, who was last seen in Logan Lake, BC, visiting a friend. Young was traveling alone from his home residence in Prince George to Duncan on Vancouver Island and believed to be driving a two-tone green 1994 Ford F250 with British Columbia license plate VJ8406. Young's description is Caucasian, blue eyes, gray, balding hair, 6 feet high. The safe supply crisis in Vancouver continues to claim lives. Joseph Agosti has the story.
The BC Coroner's Report for the month of August has been released, and it shows the province is still facing a major safe supply and overdose crisis. The report showed that toxic overdose is the leading cause of death amongst 10 to 59-year-olds, with 78% of those deaths being in the 30 to 59-year-old age group, while 70% of people lost were male. Preliminary analysis shows that 174 British Columbians died of overdose in August. This brings the number of overdose deaths in BC to over 1,600 people in the first 8 months of 2023. The highest rates of death were in the Northern Health region, where 58 people per 100,000 have died. In second place was Vancouver Coastal Health, with 56 in 100,000. This is Joseph Augusti, 1680 The Crow.
The RCMP of Prince George is responding to a helicopter crash close to a local ski hill. Police reports that the crash was notified around 7:45 a.m. near Purdinsky Village, east of the city. The RCMP says multiple people were on board the helicopter and do not know yet if anyone has been hurt. David Eby is set to speak with reporter early this afternoon to discuss the results of his meetings with federal policymakers. In a post social media platform X, formerly known as Twitter, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said he had discussed housing, clean energy growth, and Indigenous partnership. Natural disaster preparedness and response was also discussed as BC comes off of a record-breaking wildfire season where around 2,200 wildfires burned nearly 25,000 square kilometers and flooding remains a concern. This also coming in the aftermath of a controversy after Trudeau said he had evidence of India's involvement in the killing of Sikh activists in Surrey. Eby said that he strongly suspects Trudeau is withholding valuable information that could help protect residents of the province.
I suspect strongly that the federal government has information about that through CSIS, through the RCMP, and about how we could respond to that and prevent it. I'm glad to see Dominic LeBlanc has reached out. He said, we want to make sure that you have the information you need to keep British Columbians safe. So we're working on that, but there has not been good information sharing on this.
BC Ferries is advising people to expect delays today as the company is having problems with debit and credit cards. Staff says the services are delaying sales given that workers are manually processing payments. BC Ferries is guiding people to use ATMs at their terminals since those are working fine for those who wish to pay in cash. And for national news, Liberal MPs, including the Liberal Party House Leader and the Foreign Affairs Minister, are joining calls from the NDP and Bloc Québécois to get House Speaker Anthony Rota to resign. This after Speaker Anthony Rota invited a Nazis veteran, referring to him as an Ukrainian and a Canada hero, to an address by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Rota is expected to meet with the House leadership of the main federal parties today, with the NDP, Liberal, and Bloc House leadership calling for Rota's resignation and the Conservatives being highly critical of his actions. Speculations deepens to whether Rota will resign. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has said that while the situation is deeply embarrassing, Rota apologized and will reflect on how to ensure the dignity of the House going forward. And moving into weather condition, today is mostly cloudy with a 40% chance of showers beginning late this morning, with temperature at 15 degrees and wind going southeast at 24 gusts, 36 kilometers per hour, and humidity at 24%. Later today, we can expect temperature at 15 degrees with risks of thunderstorms in the afternoon. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Alicia Nolasco for 1680 The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.